on today's podcast. So that makes perfect sense.
High-quality life comes with high-quality decisions.
Exactly. The truth is, adding value will never go out of style. Hello, and thanks for joining us today with the Five Things podcast. We're here today with Julia Roumanis.
What's up?
And thanks for joining us today. And owner of Intentions Salon, and fresh off a salon and extensions. I got to throw that in there. Fresh off a awesome trip. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And tell us about the trip. It's a trip to, I won't steal your thunder. Tell us about this awesome trip.
It was a trip to Iceland. It is, or it was, a family vacation, and it was a much needed rest and relaxation. It was like a year in the making of planning. I come from a massive family, so it was really hard to get 10 different people on the same schedule.
Goodness. Yeah.
But it was a trip of my lifetime.
I saw some of the stuff online. It looked absolutely amazing. And Iceland's not really the first place you think of necessarily for me, but everything I ever see on Iceland, it's like, wow, that looks really awesome, you know?
Yeah,
so,
same for me. Like when my brothers suggested Iceland, I was like, but I didn't want to go against the grain. And then I went, and it was majestic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Other than being with family and being surrounded by all that love, what's the number one thing that sticks out about Iceland?
Okay, so aside from my family, because we're scattered all over 2 countries, so we don't get to see each other often, but we all really enjoyed the ATV tour through like the outback of Iceland. It was incredible.
Awesome. So just going through the mountains, seeing the scenery and everything.
Going through the rivers, through the dirt, seeing secret waterfalls, going to caves. It was amazing.
Well, I'm definitely going to pick your brain when I go visit that place someday.
Yeah.
Basically, you're scattered throughout 2 countries. Are we talking about Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, so originally from Canada leads us right into the next topic. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I moved to North Carolina in 1998. I'm one of 6 kids, so my parents were obviously struggling. They both got laid off at the same time. They were in education. And so we had extended family down here. And it sounds silly because we're from Canada, but we came here for the American dream. It was kind of their way of starting over and giving us more opportunity.
Well, you know, it's really, and Mustafa's from Iraq originally, and it's a topic we've talked a lot about. And I think a lot of people that grow up in this country, and you maybe haven't been outside the country to travel or things like that, but we've got so much opportunity, and it's easy to get numb. It's easy to take those things for granted, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I find that's what I want is for you know, my kids or anybody, is I just want a level playing field. So basically you moved down here with your family, and when was this?
1998.
Okay.
So it's been
about 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So you've been here longer than you haven't been here.
Right.
So you're almost from here now, kind of like me.
I always tell people that. They're
Right.
like, where are you from? I can tell you're not from here. And I'm like, I pretty much am from here.
Canada, Lina, right? I don't know. So
I'm stealing that.
Okay. I got to think if it doesn't flow quite well, but so what's your what's one thing you miss about Canada?
I really miss the culture.
Okay.
There's so, like, I know that they say North Carolina is a melting pot, but really in Canada, I mean, I just miss, there's so many different religions, backgrounds, languages. It's just really diverse. So
Okay.
I miss that.
What part of Canada?
I was born in Toronto.
Okay.
But I moved from Ottawa, Ontario.
Okay. So city girl.
Kind of.
Ottawa's not
Somewhere
a big city?
in between. Well, no.
Okay.
Ottawa is a big city. So is Toronto. But in between, we moved a lot. So we actually moved about every 2 to 3 years. My parents, again, they struggled a lot. So wherever they could find work, they would move to. And
Sure.
for about 3 years, my parents were not separated, but we lived apart. My dad had a job in Niagara Falls, and I lived with my mother. Me and the kids lived with my mom in Moosonee, and I don't really name that town because it's such a small town.
Right.
No one knows it. Didn't even have running water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you couldn't drink the water that was coming out. You had to buy it bottled. The language that you learned in school was Crete. So it was a Native American language. It
Wow.
wasn't like French or Spanish. It was different. You know, I was the minority there. So it was, I don't think it was an Indian reservation, but it was definitely a town that was saturated with Native Americans. So,
Well, that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely good to know. So 1998, you moved to North Carolina, and how'd you end up in the beauty industry?
So I was not really into school, and when I graduated high school, I had no idea what I was going to do. I went to a community college and changed my major about 100 times in one semester. I dropped out without telling my parents.
Oh, boy.
So that went over really well because they're both teachers.
Sure.
So, and then they pretty much found out, and they were like, "You're not going to live in this house and not go to school." So I was like, well, I'm going to go to cosmetology school. I thought it was going to be fun. And I was like, whatever, it will bide me some time until I figure out what I want to do. And I ended up falling in love. And it's so crazy looking back now. Everyone that I went to high school with, and even their parents, they were like, oh, I totally see you doing that. I can't believe you didn't do that from the jump. So it kind of fit in, and I just kind of found my love, my purpose, my passion, and it hit me just like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner?
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, a lot of people, it takes them a while to figure out what they want to do, but you slid right into it, and happy as a clam, and self-employed now. Assuming clams are happy. I mean, that's an old saying. You know. But
I think they're happy.
I mean, I would think so. But so you've been doing that for a while now.
Yep, I've been working professionally behind the chair since I was 20. And I started cosmetology school, was it 18? Yeah, right before my 19th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. And self-employed now with your own salon?
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Well, I absolutely love working for myself, but I have to give it up to my previous employer. So I worked at her salon. It's no longer open, but I worked with her for 6 years. And then I think as a hairstylist, a lot of us get this itch, like I want to go off and I want to do my own thing. I'm going to do it this way and all the changes you want to make. And I'm kind of a control freak. So it was a bittersweet goodbye, but I started leasing my room at Sola Salon and went out on my own.
Okay. Well, awesome. What's some things you've learned along the way? Anybody that's self-employed, and this is what I think a lot of people can see self-employed people that have done well, and I think it's easy to look and say that, oh man, of course Julia made it, or of course that person, blah, 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 and they see a person doing well. What they don't know is all the garbage they went through to get there, and all the, when you're self-employed, the revenue, if you don't have the revenue coming in, or it's a bad month, or there's a hurricane, but you still got employees, at the end of the day, there's a lot of hurdles that I think the average person doesn't realize. It's like being a single parent. You don't know what it's like until you've done it. You can think you know what it's like, but being self-employed, there's a whole different level of stress.
For sure.
So lessons learned. What's something that you think you've learned along the way, or let's say a person that really impacted you, good or bad?
Well, I think a lesson that I've learned along the way for sure is track your numbers. You keep talking about revenue, and I think I personally know, and I speak to so many hairstylists they have no idea where their business stands. You know, tracking your numbers on a daily basis. How many clients did you see? How many of them were return guests? How many of them were referrals? What did you make that day? How much did you spend on material that day? Like, not what's your gross, but what's your net too. And even just learning that terminology. So I think as a hairstylist, it's so easy for us to be like, oh yeah, I've been booked all day. I'm super busy. I didn't even have time to go to the bathroom or eat. I'm doing great. But no one really knows how much they're making. They might be like, I made $1,000 today. But how much of that did it really land into your
daily
pocket?
overhead.
Yes, exactly.
The materials.
After rent, after the materials,
Right.
after that soda or wine that you offer your guests, after the magazines, after the booking software system.
Right.
That was another thing too. Like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks when you take over your own books coming from a salon. You're so used to having someone book your appointments and handle all the client communication. So when you're sending out your own reminders and then have people literally texting you at like midnight.
Sure.
So anyone that is around you, they're like, seriously? You get text messages about appointments at midnight? Yeah.
And I'll just tell you this, because I know you deal with it as well. Probably one of the most annoying things to me is when you'll have a customer, for example, let's say we've got an installation for the security company set up for tomorrow morning. We get a text message at 7:30 at night. Hey, tomorrow's not going to be good. And it's like, you know, we've got salaried employees set up. You know, we don't have any reaction time to maybe move a job up. And I know it's that way in your industry as well, where people will, you know, kind of not respect your time and understand that you're there trying to make a living, and you probably could have got somebody else into that position so your day was as productive as possible. So don't do that to Julia.
It's funny that
stop
you
doing that to us
bring
too. Yeah.
that up because absolutely in our industry, I think that that's really common. And, you know, I sympathize for all of my guests because you end up having a personal relationship and everyone has their own stuff going on. And in the beginning of my career, it was more so like that. But now, since specializing in my niche, hair extensions, I've had to create boundaries around my schedule. And so I actually have a 48-hour cancellation policy that I've created. And there's actually a contract where the first time they come sit in my chair, they sign it, and they agree to it, and there's a rebooking fee. And so I really don't have to deal with that anymore.
Good.
And if something does pop up, short of like a medical emergency or something, they are very understanding because there's clear expectations.
Right.
And they're like, hey, Jules, I wish I could make it. I have something popped up.
And
I
things
can't
do come
change
up.
it.
Right.
Let me do the rebooking fee and let's get on the books.
Right.
And it really takes the awkwardness out of my conversation of, hey girl, so I have a cancellation fee. It's like clear from the beginning.
Right.
So.
Doctors do it. Dentists do it. That's because time is money.
Yeah. Well, I think in the beginning, especially when I was younger and I offered every service, I think a lot of your clients kind of view it as like a hobby career and they forget this is how I'm paying my mortgage.
Right.
This is how I'm putting food on my table and keeping the lights on, you know? So, and especially now with my appointments, they take anywhere from 3 to 4 hours and I'm booked out for 4 to 6 weeks in advance. You know, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
Sure.
They get it, you know, so.
And that's good. And good for you for setting the expectations on the front end. Because I find, you know, most people are pretty reasonable as long as you set the expectation and create the right expectation. Like, hey, my time's worth money. And here's the thing. If you have a problem with signing this form, you're telling me you're going to abuse my time. That's the only reason you have a problem signing this form.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't want everybody as a customer. You know, that's
you're stealing one of my 5 things.
All right. Sorry, I didn't even see those over there. So So anyway, being self-employed, that's certainly a challenge that I think self-employed people have to learn. And when you're an employee, you're on salary. Oh, the client rescheduled. I'm still getting paid. Now I can get on Facebook. But when you're responsible for the company and driving revenue, and people are getting paid whether revenue's coming in or not, or your receivables are out there, or, you got to deal with all that.
Absolutely.
So that was a lesson learned, right? Setting boundaries.
Absolutely.
Right.
I did not have them in the beginning.
Right. So obviously not engaged or married yet. So I would think setting boundaries applies for everything.
Full circle.
Full circle.
There's a reason my salon is called Intention Salon.
Okay.
I try and live a very intentional and purposeful life.
Awesome.
And that's also why my studio is closed on the weekends. My sister works with me, and we have a salon coordinator, and I just really believe in having work-life balance and being able to be with your loved ones and being able to re-energize and rest and relax, so you can put your best foot and your best work forward.
I was actually going to ask you about that. You stole one of my things. So we'll jump into that work-life balance. And again, you get a certain, we're not BFFs or anything, but you can really develop a good, I think you can really develop a good feel for somebody just by being on social media, if it's coming up in the feed enough. And, I get the impression you have a really good work-life balance. That's just my impression. And so I was actually going to ask you about that, because being self-employed, that can be a real challenge when you're aggressively going after goals. And I've learned some things there that I might jump into, but tell me about work-life balance. It's something that you've clearly thought about. And
I definitely think about it. But, I keep having this person that I like to follow popping up in my head. Have you ever heard of Russell Brunson?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he always said something about anyone that is focused on a goal, you're not going to have balance. And it's okay to not have balance. I have taken a pause, and I liked where I'm at. And now I have a new set of goals, and my life is shifting back into not so much balance. But, it ebbs and it flows.
That's a great point that you bring up. And I feel like I have balance, but it's a very different type of balance than I think the average person thinks. Like, starting Brand Ascent Media in basically this month, and all the new pressures and things like that, I pretty much knew like August is going to be a, wide open 70, 80 hour work weeks. I'm just going to really crush it in August. And then like last month, I was in Vegas for 10 days, and granted, I'm still working when I'm out there, but it's definitely not,
it's still Vegas.
It's still Vegas. But, the thing is, I feel like I have balance, but I'm a sprinter. I'll go in sprints. I might work 90 hours one week, and then the next week I'm out on a jet ski in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, so that's my balance. It's not a 9-to-5 balance. It's sometimes you're redlining and really pushing hard, and sometimes you're just sitting there chilling,
Same. I can totally relate. I think that goes with owning a business. It goes in ebbs and flows, like I said. So sometimes you have to put your head down and you have to hustle, and you don't have a lot of time for friends and family. So they have to really understand, and you have to have strong relationships where finally you've accomplished that one goal. You're going to take a breather, recharge, and then move forward with your next goal.
Right. It's so true. And people around you just have to understand that the business is a baby, and the baby has needs. I mean, when the baby is hungry, you can't just not feed it.
Right.
And the business is the same way, and you have to just do what you have to do sometimes. And you try to scale, but that's a different topic. But ultimately, definitely a different mindset with being self-employed. And there's a reason why 50% of the businesses fail in 2 years. It's because I think a lot of people, well, there's a lot of reasons, but I think a lot of people that I've seen go into a business with an employee mindset, and it's two totally different mindsets. I get a text message. But that's good stuff. So those are lessons learned. And so now we're moving on to last thing before we get in your 5 things topic, just maybe someone that's impacted you in a positive way over the years. It sounds like your previous person before you went self-employed.
She really did. I mean, she just gave me an opportunity to really explore myself as a hairstylist. She didn't have a lot of boundaries on me. I hear a lot of stories about other salons where they have to take a certain curriculum or education, or they can't maybe make their own schedule. She let me explore all different color companies, hair extensions. I mean, her salon didn't even offer hair extensions. And I hated my shitty fine hair, and I selfishly wanted to get into hair extensions, and she was like, go for it. You know, like, she didn't want anything to do with it, and it wasn't her calling, but she gave me the freedom to kind of find my vision.
Right.
So.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm all about self-awareness. You know, you need to know that you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And if that was something that you're really interested in, you're probably going to be better at it because you have a love for it. You know, it's not work when you love it.
Exactly.
And it's interesting, you know. So I think that brings us right into our 5 things topics. So men, you know, tune in here because
you're going to get a lot of good stuff.
You know, here's the thing. You may not need to know this for you, but you might need to know what's going on for mama. So
that's right. Wives, girlfriends,
exactly.
fiancés, moms, all of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the 5 things when you're choosing hair extensions and 5 things to consider.
Yeah. And I think it can go a little bit broader than hair extensions, but for me, it was hair extensions. The hair industry is really evolving, and you're talking and comparing like my cancellation policy to doctors and dentists and all these other specialists that we see, and our industry is really going niche. And so for me, it was hair extensions, and I've been certified in about 10 different methods. I offer 3 in my salon. So I'm very niche, and I'm very particular about what I will offer. I've worn all of them, and I feel like any ones that have damaged my hair, we're going to go a little above you, Brian, right now.
That's fine. I'm learning something.
So I started off with the keratin bonded extensions. It's where you melt and fuse this little bond around little pieces.
I'm actually familiar with this.
You know what? Okay. Most women wear hair extensions, so most men that are dating nowadays, they're familiar. Yeah. So that was the first brand that I was certified in. Totally trashed my hair, hated them. I was like, I'm never putting these in my client's hair because I cried when I took them out. Okay. Yeah, it damaged my hair so bad. And so then I moved on to micro links, which is like a little metal bond or alloy bead that you clamp on, so there's no heat infusing, but there's still so many points of attachment. Still trashed my hair. Went to tape-ins, tried the clip-ins. I have tried them all. And then I did Halo Couture, which is a temporary method. You put it in every day, take it out. It is damage-free. I loved it. I hate it putting it in and taking it out every day. I want it to wake up with my beautiful hair. And then I found natural beaded rose, and all in. Amazing, amazing. Okay. It's chemical free, less points of attachment on your hair. So that means there's less risk for damage. It's an easy 10-minute removal because a lot of people don't know that all of the damage to your natural hair comes from the removal process. It's sewn in. So there's no inconsistency. With tape-ins, it's going to be like blocks, and even the strands, it's like little pieces, so there are tiny gaps in between, and it doesn't flow and blend and look as natural because of the little gaps. And they're so small, but they do matter. And then the custom coloring that comes with natural beaded rose. So I went all in niche, like NBR salon, that has now paired it with crown extensions because there are some women that are fine, thinning, balding on top. And it would break my heart when they would come in for a consultation. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, this isn't going to work for you because we can't hide them.
Right.
So now I have a method that I can mix with my NBR and give anyone beautiful hair.
Awesome.
So,
It's one of those things that the first thing that I think about is somebody with experience. First off, I don't want to say there's nothing like it, but I mean, a bad haircut is a bad week for me.
yes, yes. Even for men.
Well, I mean, but it kind of ruins things for like a week or two, and I think especially for women, guys, you can be overweight and you can be this and you can be that and you can still be a good guy, you know what I mean? But I think women are definitely more in tune with being beautiful, and there's a lot of judgment and gossiping and all that kind of stuff. So, the point that I'm working towards is basically that if I was a woman, I need to go to an expert with this type of thing. Like, I don't want my hair jacked up.
Absolutely.
And it's probably, if I'm thinking back to what I'm familiar with, let's say it's $700 for this person doing this process over here, or it's $900 over here, but it's like Daddy Mac. I'm spending the extra $200. I don't want my hair jacked up,
Exactly.
And so to me, that's something that you get what you pay for, and
I completely believe in that. And you hit the word expert. So that is why I let go. I mean, I'm working in a solo salon. All of the other artists that work around me, I started referring all of my clients out to them. I no longer take kids' cuts, men's cuts, women's cuts. I no longer do color services unless it's in conjunction with hair extensions. All I do every day, every time I'm behind the chair, is hair extensions.
You're a specialist.
I am a specialist.
Right.
And people thought I was crazy. And I just had to put my blinders on, stay in my own lane, and not let all of their voices get in my head, because I wanted to be an expert in my field. And if you're offering every service under the sun, there's no way that you can critique and become an expert in what your field is. So,
who's the Malcolm? Basically 10,000 hours to become Malcolm. It's escaping me right this moment.
I know the 10,000 hours to become an expert.
Right. And
I'm well above that.
Basically that principle that when you're doing it over and over and over, or someone's doing bookkeeping over and over, or security system installation, you're just going to be better. You're gonna know all the stuff, mistakes, pitfalls. So that experience costs. You're getting these qualifications. That's time you're investing. I'm sure that's money you're investing, maybe even having to travel. So, that comes with a cost.
Exactly. So, I saw a meme, real quick, a meme that said, if you're paying for a job that I do in 30 minutes, you're not paying for my 30 minutes. You're paying for the 10 years that it took me to
100%.
do it in 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people don't see that, the 10 years that I put into hair extensions, to finally find a brand that I can stand behind. The 3 years were literally every single day I was beading, stitching a row, and coloring hair. I mean, taking it on vacations, taking my mannequin, literally not a day goes by where I don't bead and stitch and color hair.
All right.
I can do it in my sleep.
Well, you taking your mannequins on vacations, a little more information than we need to know. But any case, so was that number one, right?
Yeah.
So we're going number two now.
Number two is investing in yourself,
right.
For sure. I encourage all of my clients to invest in themselves. They're investing in themselves when they come and sit in my chair. And I feel like as an artist, I want to invest in myself. So I invest in coaching. I actually have multiple coaches right now. I do one-on-one coaching, and I'm in a mastermind group. On top of that, I go and paid to get hair extensions done. I pay for the service that I have in my hair because I want to know what it's like to be a client. I want to know what did I like, what didn't I like, because it's going to better me as an artist so I can offer a better service to my guests. And if I'm not willing to invest in myself, then how am I going to expect my guests to do that?
Right.
But I think it's really important for you to just really invest in your business. I think a lot of people are afraid to spend the money. Don't be afraid to spend the money, because when you're afraid to spend money, you're not going to make any money.
Right. Well, Warren Buffett says the best investment you can make is in yourself. And, there's a number of things that go into that, but you're relating to your clients, creating the better experience for your clients. It's not just the expertise of what you do. It's the whole experience of everything, the ambiance, the rapport, the great conversation and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I want to go sit in someone's chair and I want to be the client.
Right.
I want to know, what is this person doing? Maybe they might open my eyes to, something that I'm missing in my salon, or I might have a negative experience and be like, well, I definitely don't want to do that for my guests.
Learn from that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like every product that I bring into my salon, any hair extension, I knew that I didn't want to offer these other methods because I experienced them.
No Arbor Mist wine.
Yeah. And this is my first business, and I always refer to it as a baby business. So why am I not going to invest in someone else that is a multimillionaire that has created so many businesses and can help me along the road to help, it's still bumpy, but smooth out those bumps and help me course correct a lot quicker, and someone I can email or text like, hey, I have this collision come up right now. I need help working it out.
Right.
What do you think?
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's number 3.
Number 2.
Oh, that was, we completed number 2. Yeah. So we're on number 3 now.
Social media.
Okay.
That's how you found me, Bri.
Right.
So social media, as a hairstylist, all of us, whether you're in a commission salon, whether you're self-employed or renting a chair, as a hairstylist, we are all our own business.
You're a media company.
Absolutely.
Right.
Social media, you have to put everything out there. And when I say everything, I don't mean every aspect of your life, but you need to let people into your work and introduce them. People didn't know what natural beaded rose was 3 years ago when I started doing it. They were like, natural what? They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Can I get some tape-ins? I'm like, no. Let me show you.
Right.
And so every day I'm putting that out there, and it, sparks curiosity, and my followers are learning. I gain new followers because they're hearing about it. But also on top of that, I put personal things out there. Like, people love to hear about beauty products that I'm using, or fashion, or events in the Triangle area that I'm doing. And just letting them get to know who I am, because half of the reason they're going to sit in your chair is for the work that you do. But let's be real. If they don't like you as a person, they're not staying.
And trust your competency.
Yes.
So it's the classic know, like, trust.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I just feel like everything you put out there, you attract. It's so funny how every guest that sits in my chair, we have something in common. Every single one of them has found me through social media. You have to remember, I gave away my entire book of business. I mean, I was crazy, right? And I built a whole new clientele off the back of social media.
Right.
And some of them landed in my chair because I'm a hardcore fitness enthusiast. And they can relate to that. They're like, wow, she has gorgeous hair and she can do all of this activities.
Right.
I'm with it. Some of them love my spiritual side, and my goal setting. Some of them love my hustle. Some of them love my fashion, I mean, they're going to connect to me on different levels. Some of them just like the food that I'm making. I love to cook too. So it's like different things that you're going to connect with someone on. But it attracts them.
And it's really, I think even in 2019, a lot of business owners, obviously starting a media company, I'm a firm believer in that. You've built a whole business off just social media.
Yeah.
Not to get into advertising for Brand Ascent Media, but, Wish was an app that started in 2010. A lot of people have never even heard of it. 3 years with 100% social media advertising. Wish went from 0 to turning down a $10 billion billion cash offer from Amazon in 3 years.
Wow.
Online marketing. And so, it's really cool to hear someone like yourself say that, hey, I'm booked out for weeks. Started with nothing, basically. Built everything on social media. And I can certainly attest to your social media because that's how we met ultimately. And I think I do a pretty good job on social.
You do.
And ultimately, what was funny when we first ran into each other randomly at a networking thing, it was like, hey,
it's like we know each other.
It's like you
right?
literally know each other.
Yes.
And so that's where you literally just said a bunch of things that is kind of a formula that I preach, like a social media formula. So it's really good stuff that you're saying that, and it's for any professional out there. And here's the thing: you don't need to own a business to do this. You can build your personal brand doing anything. And when you're a Elon Musk, and again using a high level person like that, but when you've built the brand, that's valuable. That's going to earn you more money. That's going to open doors for you a lot better than a good-looking resume will.
Absolutely.
So if you're a sales professional, you really need to work on building the brand for sure. Awesome. So now we're on to number 4.
My best advice, morning routine.
Okay.
You have to become a morning person if you want to be successful in anything. So I talked about practicing my craft every single day for 3 years. That's outside of work too. So I wake up in the morning, I practice on my mannequin head, I go to the gym, I get juiced up by listening to a podcast, watching something on YouTube,
right.
reading a book. And if I have a goal, like if I need to research something, like right now, I'm wanting to open up my brick and mortar. So I dedicate 15 minutes every morning working towards like a little stepping stone to completing that goal. So before it was like, okay, I want to be an expert in hair extension. So I dedicated 15, 20 minutes every single morning to perfecting my craft. Taking pictures of it. I did it with working out too, taking videos, critiquing myself, going back. Now it's with business. So now I'm constantly reading books or saving money, investing differently, looking at property, connecting with people like you, spending 15 minutes every morning before going to work on something that you want to master. You have to invest your time and wake up and just be that morning person. Go exercise. I believe in exercising, sweating at least for 15 minutes every morning. Eat something healthy. I always have my green juice in the morning. I like to journal because I like to unload all of my thoughts and everything that I have going on because it gives me more grounding and clarity to start my days so I can invite someone into my chair and be really open and not distracted to them.
Well, and give them positive vibes.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that's part of the things that your clients enjoy is that the positive attitude, and they're coming in kind of getting charged up.
Yeah.
Not to hijack your story.
No, that's fine. I just think waking up and it's so funny. A lot of my clients, I don't start work until like 11, maybe 11:30. And they're like, oh, you get to sleep in. I'm waking up at 5:30 or 6. And when they find that out, they're like, what? Why are you waking up so early?
That's you time.
That is me time. Right. Exactly. That is when I'm going to accomplish my goals. When I come home after a long day's work, the last thing I want to do is do research online about, opening up a business or what properties are available in the area and like what is the cost of square foot? What can I afford?
Sure.
All of that stuff. I'm tired. I'm drained. So you got to wake up and you got to take care of you first thing in the morning. So that's when I do my fitness. That's when I do my cleaning. It's when I do my journaling. It's when I, accomplish my goals.
I think there's some principles there that I relate to a lot too. Like something I've been doing coming up on almost a year now is I jump into an ice cold shower. And I do this Anthony Robbins stuff. So, do some meditation. I do that I'd say about half the time. But the cold shower, deep breathing in the shower.
Did you read the book Own Your Day or Own the Day?
I have not, no.
Oh my God, this is totally out of it, but go on.
Okay.
It's a great book. You would love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down when we're done here.
Yeah.
But anyway, the principle is this for me is, before I check emails, before I check social media, before I do anything, I want to get my head right. I want to clear my head, get positive energy first thing in the morning. I'm a real big Anthony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Deepak Chopra, got a lot of different guys that I listen to, but and a good principle, and I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. We don't always have positive people around us, especially when you start. I think when you start learning some of this stuff, you may start realizing, like, man, I'm surrounded by a bunch of derelicts, and I got some work to do here. No wonder things are not going good. Like, people around me are drama, and what it is you start growing, and sometimes to bridge that gap between. I need to kind of, work on my sphere of influence. You can associate with some high-powered people. It's called YouTube. You got an iPad, you got a phone, you got something, and you can associate with some really powerful, awesome people. And so, long story short, it's a good principle. Just first thing in the morning, get your head right. And I can tell you're doing that in your way, which is awesome because it works, and again, when you come in contact with people first thing in the morning, if we had little meters on our head like we do on our phones, it would probably say 100% for you, and I want it to be 100% for me. So when I see people first thing in the morning, I'm charged up, and because the day is going to do some draining, and if you got people that are draining you, you need to unplug.
Absolutely.
But again, not to hijack the story, but getting yourself charged up and mentally ready for the day, you time, and that's part of why you're Julia. Probably people love being around you because you come into work and you're probably charged up. If I was getting my hair done, I'd want to be in there at 11 because I know you're coming in there on full blast. So the last but not the least.
So last but not least, dare to say no. I think as a hairstylist, a lot of us are people pleasers, and we are afraid to say no. But one of my coaches said something to me, and I think about it. I mean, I don't think there's a day that I don't think about it. But he said, if you say yes, you're saying no to yourself. By saying no to someone else, you're saying yes to yourself. And just flipping the frame like that, it just changes your whole mindset. And you're like, it's okay to say no. I think we're so often afraid of it. Like I was saying no to past services, past clients that have supported me for 13 years in the industry, and I'm so grateful for them. Thank you so much. I love you.
Sure.
But this is my vision. This is my passion and my purpose. It lights me up. I have to do it. And I was saying no to a ton of people, and I'm sure I upset a lot of people, but I was saying yes and being true to myself, and taking off Saturdays, not working the weekends. Again, that's really hard. Every hairstylist I know, every salon I know I think I'm the only salon in the area that is not open on Saturday. But again, it didn't go with my vision. I wanted everyone that works in my studio to have a time to recharge, and all of their spouses or their family, they're off on the weekend. They would only have Sunday together, and Sunday, we all know, it's like the prequel to Monday.
Sure.
We're all getting ready. It's not that fun. For some people.
Right.
But, especially if you have kids and whatnot, you're busy getting ready for the school week and work week. You might be food prepping if you're really healthy, but it's a little bit more responsible than Saturday.
Right.
So I've just learned to set boundaries and be okay with saying no. You might piss someone off, but you have to be authentic and be true to the life that you want to have, the life that you're creating.
Right.
We're all creators here. I'm creating, a life that I want to live. So when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not like, man, I wish I did it differently. I just, put my head down and I'm like, be unapologetic about it too. I'm not sorry for saying no. Well,
I'm glad you said that, because that was actually, it's not just saying no, it's saying no and
owning
there's
it.
Nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
I don't do that. If your company called you in and said, hey, we need you to work from 3 to 4 in the morning, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? You're going to say no.
Yeah.
That's not my schedule. I'm self-employed. And you've made it work.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying your bills. You're growing your company, and you've got great clientele. So you've made the decision to intelligently design your life.
Right.
And you worked hard to do that. And so kudos to you for that.
Thanks.
And,
I think so often we forget that we truly design our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're taught from a very young age that, we have to color within the lines and like follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the hair industry. Well, this is how everyone does it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who says I have to do it that way?
Right.
It's okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to specialize in what I want to specialize. I'm going to put my whole heart into it, and I'm going to create boundaries around
Mm-hmm.
it. So I'm happy. So whoever does land in my chair and this resonates with,
Mm-hmm.
they get 1,000% of jewels.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm drained, I'm exhausted, I'm unhappy,
Right.
I'm negative, I'm bitter.
And not doing as quality work because you're running on a low battery.
Exactly.
And taking shortcuts because you just want to get out of there because you're drained.
Yeah.
So I would much rather deal with somebody who's fully charged and happy than someone who just can't wait to get through this.
Exactly.
So that makes perfect sense.
High quality life comes with high quality decisions.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, awesome. Well, Julia, this has been awesome. I'm really glad you came in here, and thanks for sharing that. And other than that, we're actually going to work on doing a commercial for Intention Salon. So looking forward to that.
Stay tuned, y'all.
And other than that, thanks for joining us today. Hope you got a bunch out of this. I know I did. And thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hello, this is Brian Smith, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more valuable content.